Hey y'all, I'm Erica Cervello and I'm the owner as well as the stylist at Gallery Salon located at 4 Elton Street in the neighborhood of the Arts in Rochester, New York. We specialize in everything from lived-in hair color to vivid creations, haircuts, wedding hair and makeup, structured manicures, gel extensions, and the best nail art in the city. We work closely with Rochester artists and makers to carry an array of handmade goodies for you to shop from. Gallery Salon is proud to offer gender-neutral pricing and we are a certified LGBTQ+ safe zone. Our space and staff are welcoming and down to earth. We know you'll be comfortable to come as you are and celebrate your individuality at Gallery Salon. You can find us at galleryhair.com and Facebook or Instagram. Give us a call at 585-271-8340, or better yet, swing by and meet us and see what we're about. Gallery Salon, located at 4 Elton Street in the neighborhood of the Arts in Rochester, New York.
Jazzcast Pros.
Hey ladies, do you own your own business or are you considering starting your own?
Are you craving connection and are ready to feel seen? It's time to get real about what it takes to make it as a woman business owner.
My name is Kelly Bush.
And I'm Kelly Metris.
And we're the hosts of Getting Real with Bossy, the podcast that unites and educates women business owners through real, raw, and honest conversations.
Today's episode is with Asa Shutts, and they're going to share their story and how to keep going when your life is falling apart.
Yeah, she's got a really inspiring story, and I hope you like it.
All right, welcome to the Bossy Podcast. This is our first experience with multiple people in different spaces.
Woohoo!
This is Kelly Metris, and Kelly Bush is on the speakerphone.
Yeah, I am in beautiful Hudson, New York. I can actually see the Hudson River from my hotel room right now, so it's very cool.
And in the room with us, we also have Erica Sorbello and Jordan Betts. Hey. Hi, folks.
Hi, ladies.
Hello, bossies. We hope you've been having success at whatever you've got on your to-do list this week.
How are you doing with your to-do list?
I am not doing well.
Me neither.
Yeah, no, this is not a good week. We're gonna get shit done next week.
Yes, pushing it all off to next week. I am failing at my to-do list. Every time I cross something off, I think 3 things come on, and then I remember 4 things that I didn't put on. So I'm always 7 steps behind, apparently. But I feel like next week's going to be a little bit better. We've got a bunch of events coming up, and as soon as they're done, I can focus on being focused again, if that makes sense.
Asa talks about finding positivity in moments of distress.
Yes.
And I think maybe we can do more of that. And sometimes it's okay if we haven't gotten our shit done because we have to address our lives.
Right. And I think that's what people don't understand when you're a business owner. Your life happens right alongside. They exist at the same moment, always.
All right. So Asa, welcome to the Bossy Podcast.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. My name's Asa Shutts. I own Shutts Productions and a brand called Shutter and Splice. And we do photo and video for most all of your imaging needs, from weddings and newborns to corporate events and advertising. And you can find us online at either shuttsproductions.com or shutterandsplice.com.
Can we specify that there is no C in Shutts?
Oh, yes, there is no C in Shutts. It's Shutts. I don't grow apples, but I mean...
It's only
for those of you
relevant
from Rochester.
Right, for those of you that know Shutts Apple Farms. Listen, one of the bridesmaids in my wedding thought that I was getting married to the son of Shutts Apple Farms.
Really?
I'm like...
And she thought she was getting donuts for life.
Yeah, right? I mean, I want donuts for life, but wrong spelling. I can't even fake it.
All right, Shutts. Shutts. Sweet.
Productions.com for all the goods. Thanks for having me.
So is this something you always wanted to do, photography, or?
So growing up, my grandparents had this really awesome basement. My grandfather and my grandmother were both pilots. And my grandfather built these...
Wait, can you say that again?
Sure.
Both pilots?
Yeah. My grandparents
That's
were both
amazing.
pilots. Oh my gosh, my grandma just passed away last year at the age of 99, like 2 weeks from her 100th birthday. But she raced airplanes across the country like for years and years and years, and she'd win these races, and it was pretty cool. So
you come from a long line of bossy women as well.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
I was going to say, I can see the genetics.
Yeah, I think it is in our genes, right? It's got to be.
Absolutely.
But my grandfather had a dark room in his basement, and he had all of these like cabinets and drawers full of all these black and white images from whatever. A lot of them of him in the plains, a lot of like his family, a lot of my mom, a lot of my uncle and my aunt. And I would just spend hours in this basement flipping through old black and white photos. And that was like, I mean, I don't even know how young, probably 8, 9. And I just spent hours down there looking at all of these little 4x4 photos. And I loved it. When I went to college, I went to RIT for photo in 1995. And at that time it was still film, and we hadn't gone digital yet. I had an awful experience there and left college and didn't go back for photography. Finished out at Brockport doing sculpture, but never stopped doing photography. And then fast forward, 20 years, I met my husband, and he was a live news op for news stations in Rochester. And we kind of started doing video projects together. And then I started our business when I quit my full-time job to quote unquote stay home with the baby. And it took off from there. And that was about 10 years ago. And I added photo back in because that's what I really loved was photo. And I've been doing it full-time ever since.
What's your favorite thing that you photographed?
All of these really interesting twists and changes came during COVID. And one of my favorites, and probably, I've shot destination weddings throughout the country. We've done Colorado, we've done Mexico, we've done Canada, we've done Seattle, but COVID brought the best one. And I had this couple who I absolutely love, and they live in Chicago. His parents live in Batavia. They were going to get married in Buffalo with like 400 guests at a hotel. It was going to be a massive, huge wedding. COVID hits. They get told by New York State that they can't have more than 50 people at their wedding. And here's all the regulations that have to go with that. And they're like, fuck it. If we are going to be limited like that, and we can't have this 400-person wedding that we wanted, then why would we even go to Buffalo and do it? So what are we going to do? And they're like, well, we can do it in Chicago where we live. We can do it at Matt's house in Batavia, right? His parents' house in Batavia. Or we could just do it where we're going to honeymoon, which is on this horse ranch in Wyoming. Hey, Asa, would you mind if we flew you to Wyoming, you and Ben, to shoot on this gorgeous horse ranch next to the Teton Mountains?
What?
And so, of course I said no.
Right, yeah.
No, why would I do
Who
that?
the hell wants to look at a bunch of ugly mountains?
Can I learn how to be a second really quick? And
Right?
get back in time?
Exactly. So all 3 of my children were out of school. My husband was like remote working. He works full time, but he'll second shoot for me. And we said, well, fuck it. Let's just fly everybody to Wyoming. And so we took a week and we took the kids, and they're on remote school anyway, so they can just do that from a hotel room in Jackson Hole. And we flew to Wyoming and we turned it into a family vacation, and we did the wedding and the first weekend, and then we spent a week with the kids in Yellowstone, and it was epic. And man, I love the photographs that I took from that wedding.
So
They're
cool.
just so beautiful. Just so beautiful.
That's amazing.
Yeah. COVID twists, man.
Mm-hmm.
You learn to roll with them, and they can bring some pretty awesome shit.
Oh, that wonderful C word.
Mm-hmm.
As a woman, I didn't think that there would be a better C word.
Right?
That's amazing. What kind of video were you guys doing at the beginning?
Mostly we were doing weddings for friends. We were just doing it to do it for people. And then I was like, you know what? I bet we could make some money doing this. And started really small. And then people would start asking for different video work. And that grew into doing events for nonprofits. And commercial work for nonprofits. And that's really what I love the most, is doing video work for nonprofit organizations in the Rochester area. That's really where my heart is. The weddings are fun, but my heart screams nonprofit.
Do you have a favorite video experience?
This is actually another COVID story, which is funny because I've been shooting for a lot longer than COVID. But the fact that we weren't doing in-person live events anymore, and all of a sudden these Rochester-based companies needed live, quote-unquote, event videos to do their yearly events, right? But they couldn't be in person, so they were reaching out to us to produce these longer form videos that they could play for remote, virtual meeting type of stuff. And that's how I started getting involved with a lot of really cool not-for-profits in Rochester. And I think probably my favorite to date is working with Rochester Area Community Foundation to produce their annual awards. It was usually an in-person huge gala, and they couldn't do it in person. And the people I met through that organization just blow my mind. The amount of money and the amount of heart that they're putting into the hands of people that really, really are doing amazing things with it just is inspiring.
So something like that event, which I've been to before, and it's so great. What is the process after the event? Like, how long does it take? What do you need to do before the final product is out?
So for a virtual event like that, it's a lot of planning and production work. There isn't a singular event that you just show up to for a couple of hours and record video of and then edit it and put it out. The work that we did for that involved like scene sketching and storyboard planning and how to like create a hook for the people that were watching, because it was a new frontier for people. So there was a lot of pre-planning that went into producing that video. We created a little storyline about one of the presenters showing up at their usual spot to like do their presentation, but the room ended up being empty. And, how do you creatively shoot that? And, how do you make it funny and make people feel like, oh yeah, COVID, and all the little things that went into that. So more the pre-production for that was more daunting. The end piece was actually pretty simple to put together because we had the whole plan. When events are happening in real time and you're there for a couple of hours, the back end ends up being a lot longer, the video work, because you got to go through all this B-roll and figure out which B-roll tells the story and which you don't need, and putting together, even a 2 to 3 minute end product takes hours and hours and hours on the back end of just looking through, 2 hours of video work and deciding, somebody talked for 45 minutes. Well, where are the 10 seconds that made the most sense of what they said to use in the video? And did they stutter when they did it? Because if they stuttered when they did it, you got to find something else.
Right.
So,
yeah, I asked that because I think especially with professions like yours, people don't understand, like, why are you charging this rate? I can take pictures on my phone. I can make a video. People just don't understand. And I think, Kelly and I get that a little bit in our professions. Like, they're just making food. I'm like, but do you know, like, all the things that I have to pay for that go into this? And the staff, like, people just, I think, don't understand. I loop that into the nices and stuff.
That's funny that you mention it, because just earlier today I was looking at, one of the social media platforms, and somebody had put up, like, the crap bullshit of McDonald's and how much money the corporations make versus how much money they're paying their workers. And they were like, well, this is how much hamburger meat costs, and this is how much they pay their workers. So they've got this much left over that they're paying themselves. And it's like, well, you didn't take into account the management or the maintenance on the building. You didn't take into account all the people that are, the insurance, all the stuff that they're working to keep the executives going, and
specifically in McDonald's, it's franchise fees.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about the McDonald's setup, and it is very expensive.
Yeah.
To start a McDonald's.
Absolutely. So I think the average person gets a little bit of it. They're thinking, how do you pay the workers? How do you pay the thing? But they don't think about the fact that one of my video camera bodies is $6,500 before I put a lens on it. And then I've got 3 of those bodies at the event. So if I'm walking into your event with $50,000 worth of gear, That's just the equipment I'm using. Like,
Right.
that's before I've paid myself. So realizing that the costs, of business are equal to what you have to charge if you want to make more than $7 an hour.
And having the eye. Not all of us can take a good picture.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think
Right.
I'm incredible in the moment, and then I look at them and go, well, that's garbage. What have I just done?
Or the editing
What is that
software.
even a picture of?
Yeah, I mean, there's, all the companies have moved to subscription-based models, so you can't even just buy editing software and have it on your computer as a one-time cost. You're
Right.
paying, $50 a month to Adobe just to be able to edit. They don't even do any of the work for you, Like,
Right.
they just create the tool for you to do the work.
And lighting. Oh, there's just so many things.
Yeah.
If you're going to have like nice pictures. I mean, if we're just going to share them to Facebook, it's one thing, but if you actually want pictures you can print and blow up and do nice things with.
Yeah.
Even my wedding photos, I mean, now because I didn't save them appropriately, they're like pixelated.
Yeah, you can't get that resolution back once you've done it.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing you need a do-over
I know.
or
I
a
keep
refresher.
saying. Well, I know who my photographer's going to be. You did my adoption.
There
so
it is.
I've already
Yeah,
tested
vow
your
renewal.
services.
My name is Christina Julian. I own Sense by Design. We're a pour your own candle and custom fragrance bar located right on University Ave in the neighborhood of the arts.
So what do you like about Bossy?
I really like that Bossy is a really inclusive, open space. I feel comfortable talking about what I'm dealing with in my business and asking for advice, and it just feels really authentic and real. I don't know, I think there's a lot of networking groups and there's a lot of options for where you can spend your time as a business owner, and I think that Bossy is one that I really get a lot out of.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, I want to ask you a personal question. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
One of the things that we often get as business owners is it's so nice, you're your own boss and you get to make your own schedule and you can do shit whenever you want and blah, blah, blah.
We call those the must be nicers.
Must
We
be
hate them.
nicers, yes.
Right.
And there are plenty of benefits, which is why we keep doing it and why we don't quit and go back to a 9-to-5 or a corporation. Mm-hmm. We don't have to get into specifics, but I happen to know that your personal life
Is it a shit show right now?
has had quite a lot of surprises lately, and they seem to be kind of piled up and back to back. And honestly, just getting through like one of those with running your own business would be a lot for most of us, but having multiple. How would you describe running your business while handling all of the things you've been handling?
Yeah. So when the weird string of really traumatic have to deal with personal events started happening, it was back in March. And luckily for me, March is kind of my slowest part of the year. Corporations are just starting to need to do work because their budgets are setting over. Weddings haven't really gotten under full swing. People don't want spring portraits taken because it's still snow on the ground. So that was a slower part, and I was able to just kind of email all my people and be like, hey, it's going to take me an extra week because, I've got this going on. And then April was traumatic. It was every 30 days, this random, unexpected, big thing to deal with was happening. And I lost a full week there, and really the ability to work around the clock when I needed to, was important. I'd spend time with myself as I needed to, and then business might happen at midnight, or 11 p.m. or whenever it could fit. If it was important, it got done. If it wasn't important, it got put to the side. And it's nice to be able to do that, but I don't have the benefit of taking family leave where I get, X amount of weeks to just go home and be with myself. So it's really hard to juggle the needs of running a business and keeping it afloat, because let's face it, I'm a sole proprietor. I don't have employees who can get my back. I don't have, nobody else is going to check off the tasks on the to-do list. So they still have to get done because nobody's giving me a break. So having to balance that and still having to do that while at the same time mourning and dealing with, unfortunately, it's slowed. So my dad passed in April. And in March, my son was diagnosed with this super rare genetic disorder that was causing him to fall a lot. And it was really scary and a safety problem. And like still trying to find the time to like mourn my dad while still being like, and I've got to get this email sent out to this person. And oh, did I even ever invoice that other person for this job I did 2 weeks ago? It was just a lot. And it slowed down my ability to mourn my dad in the way that I really want to. And then boom, a month later was another tragedy. My other son was involved in a horrendous car accident and broke his neck. And like, I still wasn't dealing with, I still hadn't had a chance to fully mourn my dad. But now we're working into wedding season, and it's like, you got to keep going. You have these contracts that have been on the books for a year, and you can't say, sorry, I'm not showing up to your wedding. These people entrusted me with that, and I respect that, and I am so grateful for that trust, that you just dig in and find a way to keep going. But you don't get, a couple weeks off of bereavement and a, family leave time and all these things that like the normal 9 to 5 would give you. But I am working from home now because of COVID. And so work could happen when time allowed. And so I put a lot of weight on my assistant editor / second shooter who had just moved last year to California, but he was still doing some editing for me, and I've just leaned more on him, and it's great because he's in San Fran and struggling for work, and so he's more than happy to pick up some stuff, which has given me some time to be able to deal with all this craziness that just seems to not stop from happening.
When you talk about you've got a wedding to shoot, but you're dealing with whatever at home, and people think, oh, it's a few hours, just get through it. Like you buck up and you
12
get through
hours. It's 12 hours just to be there. It's the day before to charge the batteries. It's up until 4:00 to import all the footage and make sure it's backed up so you don't lose anything. It's never just a couple of hours.
And then how much does the editing time?
Oh, hours and hours and hours and hours and more hours.
Can we ask that again just in case I didn't pick up?
I was going to say, let me just hop in here and ask you how many hours is the editing? And that's the thing that I just know from my sister being a photographer and people giving so much attitude about certain things. When you break it down and you say $2,500 for a 6 hours thing, it's actually not a 6 hour thing. It's actually more like a 24-hour thing. And so to kind of explain that breakdown a little bit more, because it also has to do with that being okay with saying okay and being okay with leaning in on your network.
Yeah.
And it's okay to do that, especially because as a business owner yourself too, but like, thank you for being so vulnerable. But that's something that we all have to give ourselves permission for, is that we're allowed to have these things. Just because we don't get the 2 weeks of paid bereavement leave, we still deserve that.
Oh, absolutely.
And we still need that.
Yep.
So thank you for putting that out there.
Oh, absolutely. It's so important. And I still, unfortunately, like the one weekend that I had like blocked off to like be with myself kind of and celebrate my dad and mourn him and be with him.
Morning?
I scheduled my morning, it happened to fall within this same time that I was going to be, I had saved this time for myself for 6 months because my friend was doing this awesome women's retreat where we were going to walk on fire. And it's like, my dad would have totally dug that, right? And like, I specifically went there alone. I planned on sleeping in my tent by myself. It was yoga and meditation and walking on fire. and it was the weekend that I needed for myself. And in the middle of that weekend was when my son got into the accident and I was pulled out of that weekend to go deal with this next tragedy. So I still have to replan a night to just go sleep in the woods and be by myself.
You have
and
4 hours next Wednesday.
Well, and maybe
allowed
next
to call
March.
it.
Just don't plan anything for next March. You have next March.
Next March.
Yeah, next March.
It's your quiet time. Don't take anything.
Right. Mourn Dad
I mean,
in March.
we laugh, but that's how it is. I mean, there's things I'm scheduling out for a good 6 months from now just to take time by myself.
Yeah, and you have to do that. You have to be able to plan for that. And I think that's something unique to business owners, you know. They have to plan me time, because if they don't, it'll get filled in with to-do time or client time, or somebody else wants something from you time, or family time, or kids time. You know, whatever it might look like, if you don't schedule it for yourself, it oftentimes doesn't happen. So literally putting it in the books is the only way I've found to actually get it to happen.
And in your situation, that's awful. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but you know what?
Because that's not something you can handle in the books.
Right.
That 3 hours that you have by yourself is
Right.
not necessarily the 3 hours that you're going to be in the headspace.
Yeah,
to deal with all
and
of
figuring out like ways to still be positive and still like move forward. I have a lot of things to be really grateful with all of these things that have happened, right? Like my son now knows and has a diagnosis for what's going on with him. He doesn't feel like it's all in his head anymore. There happens to be a medication that helps with it. It's going to be a lifelong thing, and it's going to be debilitating for him for his life, but it's manageable and it's like somewhat treatable. And so we're grateful for that. It could have been so much worse. And I thought it was so much worse for a couple of days. You know, my dad, he was suffering and he was hurting and he was tired and he wasn't living the life he wanted to be living. But he died in his home and on his own terms, and he wasn't in a hospital, and he wasn't, you know, my brother got there and he wasn't alone. Like there's things to be grateful for that, right? My son broke his freaking neck, but he's not paralyzed and he's going to walk again. Like there's all of these awful tragedies that just keep happening to me. Like there's so many like lights inside them. And I think that's a lot of even how business works, right? As entrepreneurs, there's all this shit, right? It's like the books and the insurance and the figuring out why so-and-so takes every Wednesday off when they said that they could work it. And finding like the reasons why it's good and the reason to keep going is so worth the bullshit of being an entrepreneur, right? Like you gotta look for those silver linings, or you're not gonna be open next year. You're just not gonna be able to be.
You have to have a different kind of grit to do it, because you need to, because there's shit in life no matter what you do and how you deal with it.
Yeah.
But there's a different kind of grit to be able to keep moving forward and multitask your emotions and work, and you can't just call in sick.
You know, I had 3 weddings in one weekend 2 weeks after my dad died. And I've never done 3 weddings in a weekend. And one of them was because I was hired 2 weeks. Like I was on the phone with this client when I got the call about my dad. And it was like her wedding was in 2 weeks and her photographer had backed out and she was helpless, and she was like friends with other clients of mine that I dearly love. And of course I'm going to take your wedding, right? Like, but it meant there were three weddings in a weekend, and that was a lot. And the first wedding I shot after my dad passed was a wedding for a family who I love dearly. I shot the sister's wedding, and then this was another sister's wedding. And their dad had passed. So there wasn't that father-daughter dance, right? And I don't think about that, right? And there was a mother-daughter dance, and that was wonderful, and it was beautiful, right? But that Saturday, don't you know, that freaking father of the bride reminded me of my dad so much. And here I am trying to like separate personal from business while I'm standing here shooting this father-daughter dance, and it's just like breaking me, but you just find a way to keep going, right? And you do, right? As business owners, we just do. And it's when we stop wanting to do that we close shop. And that's okay too, because there's a lot of people that close up shop and they just get to the point where the doing isn't fulfilling in the same way. And I think respecting that is huge, right? to love yourself that much, to be like, you know what, this isn't fulfilling me in the same way it was. I need something new. And I think we look down upon that. And I think that's
Wow.
that's a huge thing to be able to gift yourself is the willingness to close your doors,
Which is not easy.
Mm-mm.
Ooh, okay.
Where do we go from there?
Okay, so one thing, I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's making me sad. You're amazing. Thank you so much. One thing I think became really apparent during COVID and the sharing of information, is there any network beyond obviously what Bossy provides that you can go to for your profession? Like we have the New York State Restaurant Association. We get a lot of information. There's a lot of different trade organizations. Is there one for what you do?
There are online Facebook groups that are like kind of networking, and a lot of it's photography, and photographers and videographers, but mostly what comes through those is like, hey, I need a second shooter who's available for these dates, or hey, I want to know what you guys think of the Sigma 16 millimeter lens, or it's not the type of connection that I find with Bossy. There is nothing like Bossy that I've found that's just free love and support and rejuvenation. The rejuvenation I get out of a cocktail hour, there's nothing like it. I can walk in there completely broken and leave feeling like I could own the world.
I still am surprised you came last time. I did not expect to see you.
I know. I needed it though. I needed it. I needed to be around other women who are having the same kind of struggles, They're like that shared realization that shit ain't easy, and the willingness and the want to, what's the woman's name from Island Raps?
Pat.
Oh my God. When she stood up and spoke, I was like, I needed you. That's who I needed tonight. I don't know you from Pete, but everything that you just said just spoke to my heart. And now I feel okay. And I can, leave tonight and feel like it was all worth that 2 hours of walking away from the shit show that was my house.
I often feel the same way. It's so hard to get there sometimes. It's just another thing on your to-do list.
But once you're there, it's like it's so relieving and so rejuvenating.
Asa, I love you.
I love you too, Jordan.
Join us October 16th through the 19th in Geneva for our Bossy Build and Balance Retreat.
We are filling each day with seminars and activities to promote self and business health,
allowing time to rejuvenate and build your business.
Go to bossyrock.com to sign up for our email list and stay up to date on offerings and opportunities.
Follow us at Bossy Rock. Be bold, be bossy.
See you in Geneva.
I belong to Bossy because it is a community of women of all entrepreneurial levels, supporting, encouraging, stretching, correcting, and loving each other so that we can be the best versions of ourselves to be successful business owners in our community. As a woman of color, it is important that there be inclusivity and respect of people's cultures and the differences between us, and that's what you get with Bossy. I have seen the women of Bossy encourage and support and rally around a member who's been in the group one day the exact way that they have for a member who has been in the group for years. And that's important for people to come in and feel loved, welcomed, and appreciated for who they are, where they are.
Any advice for people who are looking to change careers or start their career out as a photographer or videographer?
Don't do it. No.
Don't do it.
You better be tenacious. You better be willing to work 2 jobs and be hungry. And you better know what you're doing, because if you're not a photographer and you're not trained in that and you don't have the education to back that up, there are a million other photographers that have a digital camera and are charging half as much as they should to shoot whatever it is you're hiring them for. And if you can't shoot things better than they can, you're going to burn out real quick. And if you can't command the kind of prices that'll actually feed your family and pay your bills, it's not going to be worth it. So have an education, be a really good photographer before you become a business owner, because otherwise you're going to be a medium-sized fish in a medium-sized pond with 150 million minnows all fighting over the same food.
Right. Yeah, because we always say bad news travels much faster than good news. So,
yeah.
So would you suggest working for someone first? Finding somebody who kind of does the stuff that you want to do, and then maybe trying to work for them first?
I mean, I didn't go that route, so I don't think I have any, like, I don't have experience with that. Like, I'm the one that was like, I've got a couple of years of photography. I've been shooting for 20 years. My husband knows video. He's been shooting in the business for 20 years. I think we should just open up a business and just go for it, right? And it was sheer tenacity that I'm still in business 10 years later. Because if it wasn't without my like willingness to never give up and willingness not to pigeonhole myself into one thing, right? A lot of people are like, I'm a wedding photographer. I'm a portrait photographer. I only do real estate. Like our market is oversaturated with photographers in every genre. And so the thing that's kept me in business is the fact that I can do photo, I can do video, I can do corporate, I can do personal. And the only thing I don't touch is boudoir, and that's just because I think it's 1980s silly. And every time somebody says boudoir, I think of feather boas and blue eyeshadow. But that's just me. Like, there's awesome boudoir photographers out there that are stepping it up to the next level and making women feel gorgeous. And that's great. You should hire them.
Well, I mean, that's a specific personality. Like, as a photographer, you have to really love what you're doing and be ready to dive in, because you're so, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, self-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're so...
There's vulnerabilities there that, I mean, I have shot really fun, awesome nude photography sessions, but they're very specific. They're not sensual, right? Like, I had a couple come to me. They were a wedding couple of mine, and they were like, listen, we're never going to be in as good a shape as we are right now, and we want nudes of ourselves. And I was like, all right, we'll do it. But listen, you have to learn acro yoga, because I'm not just going to like shoot private photos of you guys being weird. So I don't care what poses you come up with, but you need to come up with 5 distinct poses that you guys work together to create, and that's what we're gonna shoot.
Can you see these photos?
Hell yeah, I've got some of them on my phone. I'll show you in a bit. They're awesome, and those guys are in amazing shape, and it was cool. It's.
I love that was your answer.
Yeah,
like, I'll do it, but you have to do XYZ first and come back when you're ready.
Right. I have done boudoir for friends. 2 boudoir sessions, I would say. One was for my friend, my very, very close friend, whose husband was selling his truck and really, really upset that he had to sell this like 1980s Chevy. I don't even remember what the truck was. But we straight up went to Ellison Park, and she did all these sexy poses all over the truck. That was so like cool. Her way of saying to her husband, I'm really sorry, you got to get rid of your truck. Here's some sexy photos of your truck. And then I did another one for a close friend of mine who had breast cancer. And we did the shoot on Mother's Day. And I'm really, really glad we did, because that Thursday they took both her breasts, and she wasn't expecting it. She thought that she was going to have more time with them. And so if we hadn't done that shoot, she wouldn't have a way. I mean, I don't know. Do we take cell phones of our boobs? Maybe usually. Sometimes. Not usually.
Only if you're trying to pick out lip gloss shades.
Right. Yeah. Guys, I straight up did that in the store the other day. I was like looking down my shirt to see if I could see my color. I'm like, I think I'm this.
Okay, so
for recording this, it needs to be obvious.
Okay, so for those of you who do not know,
I made an announcement, this is Erica, that I saw the perfect way to pick out a lip gloss or a lipstick for your skin tone specifically is to match your areola to a lip color. And it's amazing.
It's
And
amazing.
since then, I have had people come to me and say I've taken pictures of my breasts and or have looked at them in the stores. And I feel so proud that I shared that information.
I sure as shit did that the other day
so
when
proud.
I had to buy a specific lip color for Echo for her dance recital, right? And I'm like,
Wait. Share who Echo is.
oh, Echo is my 8-year-old daughter. And so I'm in the store and like lipsticks were like buy one, get one. And I was like, oh, well, and I just pulled out my shirt and started trying to like see my areola colors. And I was like, thank you, Erica.
You're welcome. The tidbits of information.
Yeah.
Well, on that
But I should
note,
have taken a photo. It would have been a lot
I think
easier.
it's
Well, I mean,
time.
you are a photographer.
I would like to take a moment to wish Asa a happy birthday.
Woo!
Oh,
45.
happy birthday.
I was gonna say we didn't have to say how old, but whatever.
45 minus 18.
By minus 18.
I don't know, why not?
Okay.
I like to just stick with 30. I'm like 30 plus 14.
No,
Right.
hell with that, man. Celebrate that you're getting older and you're
Yeah,
wiser.
I don't mind.
You're
Listen,
moving
you couldn't pay
forward.
me enough to go back
No
and be 20
way.
again.
That's
Hell no.
Nope.
I am fine.
I'm
I am
moving that
fine
way.
at 40s. I'll be fine at 50s. I'll
would
probably
just
be a
like
little
to
more saggy at 60s, but
Not
that's all right.
lose years. Like COVID, I felt like I just lost.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did I turn 44? Because I was just 41.
Right.
Like I just want to know that I'm in that year.
Right.
I'd like to not have that happen again. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't mind aging.
Yeah, no, I don't mind aging at all. Bring it.
So happy birthday, Asa.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing everything. That was incredible.
All right. Thank you, Asa.
Thank you.
I love Asa's tenacity and her positive outlook. How she keeps going, it's something I'm going to try and keep in my mind when I've got these little things that keep coming up. Like, yeah, to just keep going.
And even if you're not in Rochester, you can follow Bossy on our public pages on social. You can find us at Bossy Rock, BOSSYROC, and let us know if you've experienced anything like this and how you overcame it.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your story, so please reach out.
Well, tune in next time for Getting Real with Bossy. We are excited to share another story with you, and we hope you like it.
All right, Bossies, thank you for listening.
Now subscribe, get out there, be bold, be brave, and be the boss. This podcast has been brought to you by Gallery Salon, where beauty and art collide. You can find out more at galleryhair.com.